I'm a believer that this team's going to win the national championship.
Something stupid is coming out of his mouth.
I don't know. Maybe it's just my age. He needs his vote pulled immediately. And of course, yes, a season like this has to have a name.
Let's talk about something good about Justin Freck.
What are you doing? Season of dreams. Ohio State, my guys, are either the best or the second best program in the history of college football.
This guy is a bonehead. They love him.
I question your judgment as an adult. I really do.
I was a total hater. I know that for a fact, and I just don't get it.
Get us back our sleeves.
Let's say, bring me that. That's the one I want. Hey, welcome into Juck on Bucks on a Friday morning. So happy to have you. My favorite episode of the week, Friday, with me and KD. KD, how we doing this morning?
Dude, living the dream. Excited to be here. Excited to be up in the morning, and like we're one day away from college football, and it should be a not super stressful day for Ohio State again, which means we get to kind of watch other chaos unfold, and that's like my favorite kind of Saturday sometimes.
Mine too. I like it. If we don't have a the problem is this Tennessee-Georgia game. We don't know if Nico's going to play. I'm really looking forward to that thing if he does. If he doesn't, the weekend as a whole, the slate, I don't know. It's not too incredibly juicy for the first time in a while that I felt that way, which is cool. But, I don't know. Any word this morning on an update on him, or are we not going to find out till game day, you think?
I'm not super duper sourced in Tennessee stuff, but I'm sourced well enough. I'm like 85% sure he's playing. We'll talk about it, I'm sure, in a little bit. I actually placed a $100 bet on a Tennessee money line when I found that out. So
I also am big on Tennessee in this game, but yeah, we'll get to the games later. But no, yeah. I'm with you. I'm totally with you. But we got to start here, buddy. So 1870, the 1870 Society, for those not involved in Ohio State NIL. Ohio State has two major NIL collectives, the Foundation and the 1870 Society, which came second. The 1870 Society is officially recognized as Ohio State's official NIL collective for football. It's an organization that I used to have a monthly draw come out of my bank account, giving a lot of money to them. Bear with me. I'm going to bring this full circle. So yesterday, Chris, you talked on your show, and I did a little video about Michigan's push for Bryce Underwood, the number one quarterback in the country. And that push has now gone to $10.5 million as an offer to try to keep him home in Michigan.
Which is double. That's double what it was last month.
Correct. CBS reported last month it was double. In fact, his initial offer from LSU was reported to be $5 million, and the Michigan fans were blasting him and his family for taking that $5 million for leaving the state all over their message boards. So they've made this big push, fans going to games, organized together. Connor Stallion's now coaching at the school. And my video was basically about the level of hypocrisy and how incredible it is that they went around 13 million first, then 20 million when Ross Bjork came out and said that, developed, not bought. And the very first time they got some money to spend, they went all the way in. Nico level deal, right? Like more than Nico.
Yeah, bigger than Nico.
Jaden Rashada level deal.
Dude, I'm not really super active on Twitter as much as I should be, probably, because it's sometimes it feels like not a real place, and I get met with so much ridiculous stuff. But yesterday I saw it, and it's like 10.5, which is $2 million more than Nico got to sign with Tennessee. For everyone screaming at us, built, not bought. We develop. We don't need 5 stars. I mean, they've kind of like used we beat you guys 3 times in a row as an argument whenever Ohio State lands a kid. And then again, 3 straight years, the best quarterback in their own state, has opted to go elsewhere. And this one's crazy because this is the best kid in your backyard coming off the heels of you winning a national title, wants to go to LSU instead, to the point where you get on where you're just like a kid with a burning his hole in his pocket, like has to spend it $10 million on one kid from your own backyard that lives, I think I saw someone tweeted at me today, lives 20 minutes from campus.
I heard the same thing, that is really, really close to Ann Arbor, that Bellevue. The hypocrisy is just amazing. But the worst part about it is they had a kid named Carter Smith committed, as you know, Chris. Carter Smith, the Florida Player of the Year, a kid who was everything they purport to love. Absolutely in love with Michigan, got a tattoo. And the type of guy that they have said to us for years, this is the type of guy we want. A kid who wants to be there because he loves Michigan. And the first time they got some money to spend like this, man, they discarded this kid so much that he decommitted. And it's kind of sad because this kid really wanted to be there. He won't end up there now. And it doesn't look like Rashad or Underwood's going to end up there. He just, this was last night.
Hilarious.
He tweeted this or put this on his Instagram saying that 10.5 million, he's likely to decline. So it's not looking good for them, which totally embarrassing, man. Totally.
No, dude, it's embarrassing, and like they should absolutely be ashamed of themselves because coming off a national title, I always joke about this, Chuck. Certain teams have to pay what I call the bad team tax.
Right.
Miami for a little bit to land 5-star kids, pay the bad team tax. Florida, bad team tax. And for Michigan to have to pay the bad team tax to a kid in their own backyard after winning a national title is wild, especially when your fan base is screaming $20 million. We don't need to do that. And I tweeted about it yesterday. I was like, can we now, like, are Michigan fans done yelling at us? Like, are they done screaming? And honestly, immediately, I was met with more Michigan yelling. And so yesterday, I had a day on Twitter, dude. I was sick of everybody. And then to top off the night, we see 1870 with an absolutely ridiculous post.
Yeah, we're gonna get there. So their lack of NIL funds is something that kind of we've known for a while. Their NIL has sucked, and they took the fake moral grounds, screaming at us as if it was illegal or something when it's perfectly. I mean, it's obviously moral to pay people for their work, number one, and they just took that fake moral high ground.
Yeah,
and I don't understand why their NIL was never as good as Ohio State's. They claim to have the biggest brand in the country, just as Ohio State does. They claim to have just as many fans. They're in a state with the same population. Either they're just cheap or they don't care as much about football. I don't know why it doesn't match, but it never did. So we've established that their NIL does not match Ohio State's. We've established that they're taking this huge swing, $10.5 million to Bryce Underwood. Now, back to 1870. So Thursday, I got an email from 1870, and they set up a ticket selling site called NILCs. And the proceeds, for instance, the Big Ten championship game was on there. Buy tickets through this site, and some of the proceeds go to the team, which I thought was a pretty cool idea. That's not the last time we heard from 1870 yesterday. I was putting my notes together for the show. I checked my Twitter feed. The first thing I saw was a tweet from you. And it was responding to a post from 1870. And this is not how you talk to people on Twitter, Chris. This piqued my interest.
Yeah.
We don't want to hear any of this. Go ahead and delete this post and hope everyone forgets. So I'm like, whoa, what's going on here?
I don't talk like that, Chuck. Like, I'm a super nice guy. I was fed up, though.
And here is what they tweeted that made you so irritated. Actually, you tweeted their second one. But we're excited to announce the NIL Rivalry Raise, a fundraising competition designed to raise vital NIL resources for Ohio State and Michigan student athletes. Take home memorabilia, win the ultimate experience, yada, yada, yada. Obviously, people were furious. Folks didn't quite understand what was going on here with this. And after about an hour and 100 or so really nasty responses, which I went through every single one of them, wasn't a single positive one, they tweeted the response, which was this: whoa, a lot of responses, and we love the passion. To be clear, every dollar on every bid for Ohio State items and expenses stays where it belongs, in support of the Buckeyes. Signing day is coming, and nothing gets the competitive juices flowing like the game. So help us beat T-Ton and donate today. This ain't it, bro. This is everybody who's donated to 1870 has also been on the opposite side of losing to Michigan for 3 straight years. And many of those folks feel that they cheated their way through a lot of that, and teaming up with them to help their fan base get motivated to raise funds the day after they just put out a $10.5 million offer comes to light. Are you kidding me, dude? This is insane.
This would be like a charity softball game between the U.S. and Russia. Like, what are we doing? Like, can we get super serious? Like, we want to, get the competitive juices flowing, so we want to outraise like there. And no. This is what we do. 1870. Congrats. All you did was promote the foundation in a major way. We beat Michigan and NIL, whatever, not by the results of your stupid fundraising competition, but by the results of the classes we get. And then as a result of that, the wins we hopefully put together on the field. This was tone deaf. It was foolish. I know this is like Ryan Day's committee that he signed off on. Like, Ryan, I'm having a tough time. If you did sign off on this, defending that he doesn't get a thing, this is not something we ever should do. Never, ever, ever do I want to, in November, see a cover graphic with a Michigan running back and an Ohio State running back and a joint NIL event to try to see what's like to raise more money. Never. Don't even give them. They don't even deserve that. They disrespected the game. They disrespected you day in and day out. And also, their fan bases are delusional, don't live in reality. Most of them. There are a couple good ones. Shout out to you, Blue Wolverine. So I think this was awful. This was moronic. Whoever sat in that room and said, this is a great idea, send the tweet, fire him, and anybody else who said yes, fire them all and blow the whole thing up. But listen, if you're contribute to 1870, cancel now. I'm not doing it anymore. Like that, they clearly are on the wrong side of history with this one. I'm not going for it.
Seriously, I've been involved with these guys from the beginning, right? I had this sitting on my desk this morning when I came down here. Like, I have been involved with these guys and supported them. Never again. And I'll tell you why. I got a hold of them last night to ask them if they were planning on reevaluating this particular thing. They're not. They didn't even respond, in fact. And when you see 100% negative feedback from the people who donate and you choose to continue to go ahead with something like this, yeah, I'm done. I just can't believe it, dude. I really can't.
We have a chance to bury them. Like, why even agree to this stupid fundraiser competition to invigorate Michigan fans to donate? Like, don't even indulge in that. There's still a large portion of the Michigan fan base that thinks that NIL shouldn't be something they get involved in. So let them stay that way.
That's a great point. The foundation did not. The foundation, the other NIL collective, and I have been critical of the foundation.
As have I. I have too.
The foundation really did not like the fact that 1870 was named the official Ohio State NIL football collective. And the foundation, because of that, really went after 1870 for a long time. And because of that, them going back and forth, it made a lot of Ohio State media not come out and put the message out for either NIL because they didn't look like they were favoring one side or the other because it was so contentious. But the contention was all coming from the foundation, in my opinion. And that led to our NIL not really being very good in the first couple of years. Like, it wasn't. It wasn't until the Michigan game. I mean, Gene Smith also artificially kind of suppressed those donations by telling the athletic department donors not to divert any funds.
And not just that, he also did his first ever appearance with Austin Ward on a podcast to tell people why he doesn't exactly support donating to NILs. It was a ridiculous effort that Gene Smith did. So yes.
But the tweet that the foundation put out yesterday was absolutely totally appropriate in this situation, in my opinion. When they I'll pull that puppy up here now. All of the money donated to the foundation goes to the Ohio State student athletes only. Donate and sign up. So they got them, man.
Well, I mean, we're gonna go 3 for 3. It's like one and done basketball players. Drew was there for a year. Whoever's there and sign up on this, I don't think will last much longer, and the next guy won't either because they effectively nuke themselves fundraising wise for the rest of the year.
Can we be honest though? Like,
yeah, you
don't need to. You shouldn't have to. It's obnoxious. It's probably irritating.
Unnecessary.
Like, if I'm the head coach, right? And we've seen the way these deals come out and get structured. So now you've got to deal with two different. Okay, what do you say? Like, you take these two guys and you deal with him over here. You deal with these two over here. Like, it's obnoxious. One is much more efficient. One would be better. So as far as I'm concerned, 1870 can wither away and die at this point.
Yeah, I mean, there should only be one anyway. Like, why are we having a competition within the space? Like, all the fans should have like one central focus, one central goal, and it should be for one foundation. That way you keep things centralized and you don't have one side feeling like they have to team up with Michigan to help get things going. Yeah.
This one is going to go down into in the record books for the 0.002 percenters, those of us who stay in on all the little nitty-gritty stuff. And that's 2 in the week, bro. We had the notebook thing with our boy Ward, and now we got this one
for Austin.
We got 2 legendary things here in the last couple of years to go along with the podcast the Carson Hinsman podcast, and now these two. It's great. I love it.
It's lure. It's Buckeye lure, dude. I'll do a book on it at some point.
Maybe not so good news yesterday. TJ Alford, and this is something that you and I have talked a lot about. A bit of a conflicting report is, and the brass came out and said that they think that he's trending more and more towards Miami every day. But he came out and said he's still locked in with Ohio State, but then also kind of double talked on that. So I reached out to him yesterday. Still haven't heard back from him. That's really odd. It's not looking good, I don't feel anymore for TJ, and that really is upsetting. But the thing that I was talking about yesterday was how you and I have always discussed these really, really special type dudes, special type athletic defensive end linebacker body types. Like, they can change games, and playing positions that allow them to use their athleticism gets them in the fold, like a guy like Justin Hill. And that's why we've advocated for playing roles like that. And one of the things TJ said was Miami and Florida State would both allow him to showcase his athleticism more at the linebacker spot, more so than Ohio State. So that's why I think it's very important that they continue to embrace the way they're going right now with the defense.
I agree. I can reach out to him too, or reach out to someone who knows him pretty well and get a good answer for you and feed that to you through the back channels after the show.
I want your thoughts about Tuesday. So Ryan Day was asked a couple of questions about the big noon kickoff situation, which I think you and I were both surprised just how big that story got. Like, that was everywhere.
Huge.
I was surprised. I thought at first that was just our little kind of circle deal. It went national. You had all the national guys, the big time guys talking about the situation. So they asked Ryan Day, fed him a couple of layup questions, and he could have said, "We've noticed a change. It's more difficult for us in recruiting. By the way, Jared Curtis not going to be able to come to the Indiana game now because it's a noon game. This is a real thing. Ohio State has had to jam all the visits into the final weekend. We got fancy new lights we're not able to showcase. Our home field advantage is better at night. We never get to showcase it. Our fans love it." He could have said, "I understand their frustration." Could have said any of that.
Yeah.
He didn't say a thing. In fact, he turned it around and said, "I deal with a lot of outrage," or something like that. So I'm gonna leave this to the people in charge of that. And I'm just like, dude, you got this opportunity here to let the fans know, like, I got your back, without even irritating the Big Ten or the network or the contract, just by saying any of those things I just listed. You're not taking a shot at anybody. You're just saying, yeah, this is not good for us. And instead, he just totally passed the buck. I don't get it, man. I don't get it.
I told you before the show, he is like kind of like your local politician. He almost operates in these press conferences like he needs votes to be the Ohio State head coach moving forward. And because of that, he never tries to appeal to the core group that could be his audience. Instead, he tries to appeal to everybody nationally. Like, look, like I'm pretty. And when you do that, he this is what he's missing. Urban Meyer understood, as the Ohio State head coach, everybody within the fan base, that's the most important to me. They need to love me, and I need to approach this in all seriousness and be embraced by them. He didn't care about being embraced nationally because he understood, as the Ohio State head coach, everyone on the outside is going to hate me no matter what. Ryan Day, it feels like, is trying to get the national embrace of people because he thinks that everybody on that inside is already going to embrace him. And by doing that, you almost alienate the group that like really wants to pull for you and root for you. And the outside group, like the outside fans, will never actually like you. And so he gave like a real political answer when it was as simple as like can you just denounce that big noons are bad? Yeah, everyone's denouncing it. Everybody everywhere is. I mean, even James Franklin, showed some emotion when talking about it, being really sarcastic about, "Oh yeah, I love big noon kickoffs." Like, give us something to just like let us know that you are a real person. And sometimes when he has opportunities to do that, he just falls flat.
You bring up a good point. I mean, I just speaking as a Buckeye fan, I want to feel the way about the Ohio State head coach that I felt about Jim Tressel, about Urban Meyer. I've tried. I can't force it, man. I've tried. He just won't let me love him. He just won't let me love him, man. Like, when I loved him most? It was as goofy as the Lou Holtz thing was. Mm-hmm. It was after that, immediately after that, when he screamed Ohio against the world. That right there which the whole thing, just seeing his real personality come out, seeing the fire, seeing the passion, I got out of my chair. And he just won't let that come out. I just
No, he
don't
won't.
get it.
And Chuck, that moment was a moment for the cult fan base that is Ohio State. We can all latch on that and be like, yeah, that's our coach. But then when he does stuff like he's trying to win votes nationally, it's like, oh, like, what happened to the guy that is always Ohio against the world? What happened to the guy that, like, I can't believe Lou Holtz? Like, yeah, was it goofy? But yes, it was goofy. But if you look nationally, all the coaches in their own little pockets have the little things they do that some people may consider cringy or corny, but they don't care because it's for the people inside their fan base and inside their locker room. Like Dan Lanning with the whole gladiator thing. Some people thought it was really corny nationally.
I did. I thought it was corny as hell, but they loved it.
Exactly. Yeah. For me, I loved it. And I don't think, like, we shouldn't matter when Dan Lanning decides to do these things. It should be about, are the people in Eugene, are the people that are Ducks fans, are they going to see that and be like, oh, yeah, that's really cool? I mean, shoot, Dabo Sweeney was a goofy goober, but it was tailored for people inside of his fan base. I mean, even Jim Harbaugh did not care what anybody thought about him nationally. Didn't care at all, and embraced the personality and gave enough personality for Michigan fans to latch onto. And they did, and they defended him unapologetically. The reason why people are not defending Ryan Day inside the fan base as much as you would like is because he doesn't give you anything to latch onto, and he tries to appeal to everyone. He tries to be an everyman. Ryan, I don't want you to be an everyman. I want you to be the Ohio State head coach and embrace what comes with that and know that no matter what, people on the outside of our sphere are going to criticize you.
It's exactly right. And there's a lot of Ohio State fans who don't like the amount of criticism Ryan Day gets, don't think it's warranted. And I agree, and I feel bad for him at times, but if he just did things like this, took the opportunities like that, an absolute layup to say, I'm with you, I got your back, I hear you.
Yep.
If he just did things like that, I think a lot more people would criticize less, just point blank. I really do. I think
it would go a long way, man. It would go a long way.
Also asked about the turf, the slit seam turf, the slippage. He said after the game, we look to see if there's any slips going on and make sure tests are coming back the way they should. They've taken some things out, put some things in. The things that they take out and put in are the little rubber pellets.
Pellets, yeah.
And here's what I didn't know, and I've been trying to find out for a long time. So we know that turf was put in the exact same week the NFLPA came out and tried to ban all of these slit seam turfs around the NFL, which now there are only 2 NFL stadiums that have that kind of turf.
Yeah.
And what I wanted to know was the new practice field that they added at the Woody. After that, a year and a half after that, what turf did they put there? And he answered it in this press conference when he said they wanted to maintain consistency. So that actually has the same turf. So a year and a half after the NFLPA called for banning this turf because of injury, Ohio State put that same crap in the brand new field that they built. Are you kidding me, dude?
Do you understand how insane that is? Like that's like okay. I'm a NASCAR driver. They put in a seatbelt. The seatbelt that the big company's like, oh no, seatbelt doesn't really work. We can't use that one. And then I have the practice car that I drive in, and I also put the faulty seatbelt in.
I'm blown away. I'm blown away. I don't know how you justify that for the sake of consistency, that you're going to put this crap in, but they got to rip this up, dude. Now the shelf life on the stuff is 7 years. That's the max. This is the 3rd season. Cut your loss at half. Get it out of there. It's so ridiculous. Minnesota spent $1.3 million to replace it, dude. $1.3 million. It's a $270 million athletic department.
Yep.
Can we spare $1 million bucks to make sure the guys aren't slipping and falling? It's embarrassing. Not as embarrassing as what we got to play with this weekend.
They need to just go ahead and liquidate 1870 and get new turf. But this is a topic, dude.
I mean, I can't even get over this. How do you sign off on this, dude?
This is terrible.
Look at that, bro. How many times do we see people roll out of bounds?
Bro, punt coverage is going to be a legit war zone.
I think it's funny, dude. I don't think anything's going to happen from it. I sure hope not.
Mm-hmm.
But I talked about it like, this is stupid. This is silly. We're going to see it get ripped up. But boy, it's gone bananas, man. Now, I sometimes I love when I see a story catch hold and it's just like everybody freaks out about it. It's kind of funny. Just to be honest, like I love the look of the stadium there. Like it looks pretty cool.
No, it looks sick. It looks like a cool like cinematic. Like if I'm filming a movie, I think I would love. I don't know. I love that kind of lighting. I love like the weather looks like perfect fall football weather too.
What did you think of that little stadium that Northwestern built? I thought it'd be cool to play there.
I like it with that little cute lakeside stadium.
Yeah, it's like right in the little peninsula coming out of the lake. When I first saw it, I was like, that'll be so weird without the fan noise. But then I remembered we dealt with that during COVID, and I hated it. I hated watching the games without hearing that crowd noise.
Did you ever like when like the NBA and I think baseball did it too? The artificial noise they just like play. They just, like,
I would have preferred it. I really think that there's a reason that I'm not drawn. So when I watch like Maction, for instance, like I just wish that there was some crowd noise. It makes me feel more into the game. So yeah, I'd be down for it.
Do you know what's crazy? You know what's crazy during COVID, Chuck? I am a boxing fan.
Yeah.
And so I would buy pay-per-view fights, didn't have nothing else to do. And I would watch these boxing fights during COVID, no crowd. You could hear every punch.
Ooh.
Everything. You could hear the punching, the gasping, like very, very clearly. It was kind of freaky.
Getting to a couple of the comments here. Certainly seems like the folks are with us about the 1870 topic, buddy.
Hey, we've been pretty right today, man. We're batting 100, dude. We're on the right side of history, Chuck.
What I want to know is, Chris, the first time I heard it yesterday was you talking about it. And this is a basketball topic, but it makes me nervous that they are trying to expand the field of 64. Now, they long ago ruined the regular season in college basketball. Like it's been cooked forever. When I grew up, it was something. It meant something. I remember watching the regular season as it went on. It's now totally cooked. They play with, is it 64 or 68 they play with now?
I believe 64. 64, but there's a couple of the play-ins. But you can say your bracket after that.
Whatever.
Yeah.
They're trying to expand it, right? Didn't he say he's trying to expand it? What's his name?
Yeah. Charlie Baker wants to expand it, maybe 72 or 76.
Yeah. Now we know that this college football playoff, which I think the amount of, I don't know, debate, just the way it feels right now at 12 feels really, really good. I feel like there's going to be a couple teams that get left out that are probably going to deserve it, but that's going to be okay because it's made all of this build up leading up to it really fun because we know that it's very anxiety inducing. It's dramatic. It's fun. We know that they're going to go to 14. We know that's coming. But when I hear this, that they want to take it from 64 in basketball and make it even bigger, it just makes me think, man, eventually they're going to do the same thing to the college football regular season.
I mean, that's what this is, right? Like in no world, if you're the president of NCAA, do you look to I almost want to see how expansion is handled because I don't think the expanding to 72 or whatever is going to change March Madness that crazily. But what it does is like, all right, let me do that. Look around, see what people are saying. And if I could do that to basketball, I could definitely do that to football is what it feels like to me, at least.
Yeah.
It's just interesting.
Do you like it? Oh, shout out to the Mustangs. Devin Sanchez team in the playoffs, 56-13. They advance. There we go. North Shore moving on in the Texas playoffs. Our guy.
That's Mama Sanchez, dude. I can't wait to see Devin get here. Obviously, would love seeing Mama Sanchez in the chat. I've heard a lot of I talked to Denzel Burke about him. He thinks he'll play right away, dude. Like he loves him. So
I think so too. Did you hear that story that they thought he was when he went to that camp, they thought he was a rookie? Some of the other players.
Dude, he was a rookie, dude. And like great family. Like he understands it. They understand it. I had a chance to interview his parents. Like just A1A, man. I'm excited about him and them.
Yeah, they're awesome. They're awesome folks. Kirby came out and had some things to say. So there's been the push. Obviously, the Big Ten and the SEC have kind of been, dealing with each other recently. And they've discussed the potential of doing like a Big Ten ACC and basketball challenge in the beginning of the season. And one of the sticking points for the Big Ten is the SEC does not play 9 conference games.
Correct.
Big Ten does not like this. And Kirby came out a couple weeks ago and basically said, you're going to see coming up soon when the SEC has 2 losses or 3 losses that they're going to start saying the SEC's no good. Look at them because of the losses. And we're going to have to maybe reevaluate talking about adding another conference game. Well, he came out and said it again after the committee just came out on Tuesday. Kirby said that their decision is going to play a factor into the SEC's future scheduling model. So basically, I took it as a threat. Like, if you leave Georgia out, like, we're definitely not going to play 8, or we're not going to go to 9. What do you feel about the SEC playing 8 or 9? I don't really care.
I don't care. I just hope that they never get anything good. I hope that Georgia gets left out. I hope that they just get to soak in misery because they've been so arrogant for so long. I would just love for Georgia to get left out. And really what it comes down to is they can complain about conference games and make those threats. Really, like, if you lose 2 games, you lose 3 games, you essentially lose the right to play for a championship in my eyes anyway. So I don't
wait a minute. 2 or 3?
Well, if you lose 2, you've lost the right to me. I mean, like, if you get in, I understand, and like I'm okay with it. If you lose 3, you don't deserve to touch the playoffs, right?
I just want to, so philosophically, right? Like, my philosophy here is I want to reward people who challenge themselves in the out of conference. I want to reward big wins more than I want to penalize big losses. Now, if you lose 3 games in a 12-game regular season, should you have the right to play for a championship? I don't think so at 3. At 2, if your resume looks like theirs is going to look like when you, here, let's pull up their resume. This is what it would look like on the bottom there. This is what it looks like if they beat Tennessee this weekend. That's a win against 10-2 Texas, 10-2 Clemson, 10-2 Tennessee. Those are the 3 best wins of anybody. And then their losses would be to 2 10-2 teams, most likely. That's a hell of a resume to me. But I think the difference here with Georgia is right now, you know, the Alabama and the Ole Miss loss looked so bad, right? Like, we just saw Ole Miss destroy them. They quit.
Yeah, it's a blowout. I guess for me, Jack, it's like in an effort for me not to water down the regular season. Like, I think that if you have 3 losses and a big out of conference win, I can maybe see it. But if you have 3 losses, that means you've lost more than half of your big games during the year.
Well, in most cases, for sure. Yeah. And even for them, for sure. So they got 5 big games. That's rare. That's rare that anybody has 5.
If you lose 3, you've lost to then 3 teams that are potential playoff teams. And it's like, if you want to put them in, then it's like, then basically you're putting them in with the 3 teams that all beat them.
Right. But we are going to see plenty of 3-loss teams get in this thing. Like, we know
think
that.
So? Well, 3-loss teams that I think we'll only see it if the 3rd loss came in the conference title.
So just to be clear, I'm talking about regular season. So
we're not going to, Chuck, what 3-loss regular season team are we going to see make the playoffs?
Bro, listen, I did these numbers. I went back 25 years since the start of the BCS. Since the start of the BCS, we would have had 51% of the time a 3-loss team included in this thing. We're going to see it plenty.
I guess, but I guess, like, right now, the way the landscape looks and with the super conference being a thing, I think you're going to have way less. Like, do you think a 3-loss team gets in this year? Like, do you think the best 3-loss team gets in this year?
I don't think so. But this is a different. So this year reminds me when I look through at this particular week in 2019. 2019 was a year that saw 3 2-loss regular season teams in Alabama, Minnesota, and Notre Dame all get left out with 2 losses because there were so many good teams. This year really looks like 2019. I don't think that this year, I don't think what we're looking at here is going to look like most years. I think we're looking at a year where there's a lot of good teams. Now, will it stay like this because of the changes we've had? It might. That I don't know. But this year does not look like a normal year. If you take this format and run it back on the last 5, this year it looks like an outlier.
I guess I think this is going to be the trend moving forward, though, Chuck, because I think we're seeing the distribution of talent get spread out amongst the top 20, and then I think because of that, you're going to see legitimately like 12, 10-2 teams. Like, I don't know. We'd have to see next year, because this year I don't think a 3-loss team gets in.
No, I agree with you. This year, a 3-loss team really can't, because we're looking at when we look at these big SEC, the 6 of them that are potentially up for the playoffs still, and there's really only 6. We only got 2 games, this Tennessee-Georgia game, and then the Texas A&M game at the end of the season. Those are the only 2 games between those 6 that are playing for it still. The rest of it, I mean, like, they got technically rivalry games. Tennessee's got Vanderbilt. Georgia's got Georgia Tech. But a bunch of them are going to have 2 losses. And because of that, we're not going to see a 3-loss in this year for sure. But no, I think you make a good point that moving forward with the talent kind of distributing between the top guys, and that's all it is, by the way. It's the top guys have leveled off their talent. When we talk about parity, like, we're not talking about the guys down here getting moved up. Like, let's take a look at the playoff right now. You've got nothing but a bunch of historical great teams. You know what I mean? And then you've added in BYU because you're adding in the Big 12. In Indiana, that one team, literally one team popped up out of nowhere and became kind of that dude. But the rest of them, Georgia, Penn State, Ohio State, like Notre Dame, Alabama, these are all historical powers.
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting. Who is your well, let's just get to our games, buddy. So we'll start with Ohio State, Northwestern. The Buckeyes, a 28.5-point favorite. They covered last week. I did not expect that they would. You took the Buckeyes to cover last week. You definitely you won that one. At Wrigley Field, we got the goofy turf. Do you think that that may affect how they play? I don't know. Possibly. I think they'll try to run the ball a lot. I'm going to go with Northwestern. I'm going against the Buckeyes again. I think a 28-point win sounds just about right. The hook is scaring me away here. I am taking Northwestern plus 28.5.
I agree. I mean, I think they're going to just run the ball. No deep shots. Don't get anybody hurt. No deep stuff down the sideline. Don't want to run to the right field wall. Yeah, I agree with you. I'll take Northwestern.
All right. And this is the noon slot. Now, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pretty decent games of the noon slot. Texas and Arkansas. This one, number 3, Texas heading into Arkansas. Texas minus 12. Arkansas, the way they beat Tennessee, they beat them with their defensive line. And the way we saw Texas lose was against Georgia's defensive line, which, it could make for a game. Texas minus 12. I'm taking Arkansas to get in that number.
I actually had Texas on upset alert, and maybe that's just me overinflating one of the Arkansas wins, but I think Arkansas keeps it close. I like Taylor Green a lot. It's one of my favorite quarterbacks down there. I mean, like 6'6", what is like 215, 220, like long strider.
Stud athlete.
When I watch him, I try to like squint my eyes and picture Terrell Pryor. So
we are do you think we're prisoners of the moment, Chris?
Yes.
Let's look back. So Texas, we thought was that dude, right, for a while. And then we thought after Georgia beat them, oh, here we go. Georgia's right back in. It's Georgia. Of course, we're so stupid. We should have known. And then last week we see Ole Miss, who lost to Kentucky at home, Alabama, lost to Vanderbilt, and we see them last week against LSU, against Georgia, and all of a sudden everybody's saying, all right, this is the toughest matchup, including myself. Alabama, toughest matchup. Ole Miss, toughest matchup for the Buckeyes. Like, why are we such prisoners of the moment, dude?
Because we're college football fans. And every moment's the end of the world. Because we're the prisoners of the moment. Because when we watch Ohio State games, every other drive is the end of the world.
That's for sure.
So nationally, that's kind of because we're like forced to try to ace this test. We don't have all the information we get, and like I don't know, just we don't have all the information. So no, I mean it's just natural human, and we're in like social media era. So like these moments always feel like they last so long because it's like you play one game, then you got 7 days between the next one. So yeah, no, big prisoners of the moment.
Troy says, Texas and Arkansas used to be a huge rivalry. Maybe they rekindle that with an Arkansas win. That would be awesome. Is that like Big 8 days?
The Big 8.
The Big 8. All right. This is a big one, Chris. Utah heads into Colorado. Colorado, number 17. Colorado, they need to win out to make it to the championship game. And if they do, I think they win. And they're going to be in the playoffs with a bye, which would just be insane. Potentially with a bye. We'll see. Colorado is an 11.5-point favorite. Utah coming off that emotional loss against BYU at home with the controversy. Did you see that fan's video of that play, that final play, Chris?
No, I didn't.
So there's a fan that shot a video from the stands. I guess it is the only shot from that side, and it looks like a clear hold to me. Like,
it does. Okay.
I'll send it to you.
I
forgot to load it up.
Send it to me, and after the show.
It looks like a clear hold for sure.
Cool.
So, but Utah, man, they got a chance to play spoiler here. They played really good against BYU. I thought better than I expected. Who do you got here? I struggled. I wrestled back and forth. I went with Utah to get in that 11.5 points.
I have Utah with the points. I just feel like they're not going to get blown out after last week's debacle. And honestly, like, moral victory should have been a victory. I think that they keep this at least relatively close against Colorado.
Okay, so unlike last week, you and I are on the same page on the first three, and we head to Pittsburgh. We're going right next door to Pittsburgh as Pitt hosts Clemson. This is a game my brother and I were talking about maybe going to. Clemson, a 12.5-point favorite. They're ranked number 20. They're not mathematically out of it. Well, they need some help, but they can probably get back in this year. They don't have the tiebreaker over Miami. I feel like this is a game that Clemson runs away with. I just think Pitt is going backwards this year. I think they're falling apart, and they usually do this time of year. So I'm going Clemson minus 12.5.
I got Clemson in a blowout, and we're identical right now. So can I go first for the next one?
Yes. Number 25, Tulane. Tulane playing Navy. Tulane -7. They are now ranked. Good for them. Navy no longer ranked after their loss to Notre Dame a couple weeks ago. What do you think?
Give me Navy with the points.
Yeah, I also have Navy with the points.
Oh, my goodness.
Wow. Interesting. All right. We head to the 3:30 window, my favorite window, because it's not too late and it's just right. LSU in our SEC game of the week. Well, it's not really, but that time slot anyway. The classic SEC game of the week at 3:30. LSU -4 heads into the Swamp to take on the Gators. LSU number 22 in the country. We know what happened to them last time they were out. It did not look so hot. They've got the governor and the student council fighting with each other about live tigers on the sidelines. I think that LSU is going to cover this 4 points. I wanted to go with Florida, but I just think they're going to have a bounce back. Who do you got?
Give me Iguodala. I got DJ Lagway in them. I have LSU on upset alert. We're chomping it.
Okay. Chris is chomping it. KD with Florida. Nebraska, USC, and this is one of the more exciting games that means absolutely nothing this week. USC with 5 Big Ten losses. I would sure love to see them pick up another one. It would be absolutely great. They just lost this week. 2 4-stars have flipped out of their class, which I absolutely love. I revel in their demise. Nebraska getting 9.5 points, heading out there. And I think USC is going to cover this. I think Nebraska's falling apart. We don't really know how Dylan's doing. Raiola, he might be still injured. I'm just not buying it with Nebraska.
But it's the USC backup quarterback. Like, he lost the job to Miller Moss, and now he's supposed to be the answer.
Well, Miller got it. He was just the presumed starter heading in from that bowl game last year, right? Like, I don't know. I don't trust the kid, but I also, Nebraska just fired that idiot offensive coordinator and brought in Holgo.
Man,
Holgo on 1 week,
give
bro.
me Dana Holgerson, man.
Okay.
No, I'm doing the right thing again, man. Give me Dana.
100%. I knew you were going to go with Dana. I knew it. I knew it the whole time.
He might look like the real Pat Mahomes this week. 5 wide. Omaha.
All right, Missouri, number 23, heading into South Kakalaki. They're heading into the Willie B. South Carolina -14. Missouri, still just 2 losses, but for some reason everybody talks about them like they're total trash. I don't think they're total trash, but it doesn't sound like they're going to have their starting quarterback either, which is why this line is probably so big. I wanted to go with South Carolina in a blowout, but I trust my man. My man Drink is going to get these guys up. I'm going Mizzou plus 14.
I don't think Missouri scores one touchdown.
That's a sucker bet. That's your sucker bet of the week. I'm going to hold you to that one. All right. Arizona State, ASU, and a sneaky ASU. Kenny Dillingham, man. I love this kid. And he is a kid. He's like 26 years old. ASU heads to K-State. K-State number 16. Now, these two teams have virtually identical resumes, but Arizona State unranked, K-State number 16. And I think they're getting way too much love here as they are an 8.5-point favorite. I'm taking Arizona State.
So am I.
All right.
The quietest 7-2 team in the country, man.
There we go. I don't get it. I don't get it at all. All right, on to the evening slate, which is a garbage slate, bro. We've only got 2 interesting games tomorrow night, and that is one of them is not really even that interesting, but Oregon heading into Camp Randall to take on Wisconsin. Oregon, the number 1 team in the country. I mean, and it is a clear number 1. Minus 14, which I think is too low. I like Oregon to cover that 14 over the Badges.
UC Pate has them on upset alert, man. This is like their second time in 3 weeks traveling across 2 time zones to go play. So maybe this is a hopeful thing. I hope Luke Fickell keeps it close. I need Oregon to bleed a little bit late in the year. They bled a little bit early. I need them to bleed now. What is it? 14? You said
14.
Yeah, Wisconsin only loses by 10.
Okay. Tennessee, Georgia. We both like the Vols.
Yeah, money line.
And that is minus 10. So that money line is going to get you a good payout.
I put $100 on it, Jack.
All right. What's the payout?
Wouldn't be like something. I don't know. What's the math on that, Pat?
You got a plus 300, right?
Yeah.
So 400 total.
Yeah, you hear that, Jack?
Right. 400.
Yeah, Jack. I'm gonna take you to Ken Stewart's after this hits.
Hell yeah. All right. And the late game, which is a good one. We got a 10:30, a nice late game. Kansas, BYU. And this is at BYU. BYU at night is a fun venue. I encourage anyone who hasn't seen that to stay up and check that out. And BYU minus 2.5. They have got to beat Kansas to stay undefeated. Kansas has been hot, fresh off that shocker last week. And I like Kansas.
The hottest 3-6 team in the country. Give me Kansas money line.
Kansas money line.
The thing is, like, if the football gods exist, which I'm doubting if they do, because they shouldn't have let Michigan win last year. If the football gods exist, they should absolutely make sure Kansas wins.
You want BYU to be out of this conversation?
Yes.
Why?
Because I think they lost last week. But maybe that video will change my mind.
I think it might.
You know, actually, no, I love the Jewish community. I want them to win the conference, but I don't want them to be undefeated.
And for those who don't know, they have a Jewish quarterback, and that's kind of a rare thing. So I think it's got to be super rare. Yeah. The Jewish community has really well specifically at BYU for sure, but it's just rare in general. In the BYU or the Jewish community really has grasped onto BYU because of that. They're saying BY Jew and things like that. I'm not saying that. That's what they're saying.
No, Chuck, it's okay because he had the shirt with that on.
Okay, it's okay to say that. I don't know the rules here, man.
I think so, right? I guess it's gotta be okay to say. Okay, I got the clearance for my PR team here at Menace Sports Studios.
Okay, all right, we got clearance. All right, my man. Last thing.
Yes,
there's been some blowback this week. A lot of the folks talking about who are defending Georgia, saying that they are rated too low, and this would be ridiculous with them being out of the top 12, which of course means nothing because they've got a game tomorrow where they can get right back into it, and it doesn't matter. But they're saying things like BYU would be a 7-point underdog to any of these SEC teams. It's ridiculous that they're rated 6th. My opinion on that is after we've seen a couple of these playoffs and we've seen the Big 12, teams that are right up at the top there, that the champion, maybe if they get 2, if we see them start to get mollywopped in this thing, then maybe that'll change. But as it is now, like if you're going to include them, you just kind of got to be fair, right? I don't think you can just stick them at 12 every time.
No, I don't think the favorites thing matters because like Bama would have been double-digit favorites over TCU the year TCU went to the Natty, but it doesn't matter. Like you got to win on the field.
Yeah,
So I don't know.
I'm with you.
Georgia fans are becoming the biggest crybabies in the sport, and it's hilarious to see, especially with the toughest coach in the country. So
I'm with you, man. I'm with you. I appreciate you, buddy. Have a good time tomorrow. We'll talk to you later.
Yep, I'll talk to you.
All right, take care. And that is our boy Chris Drew from Menace to Sports. My guy, Ken Taco Hut, thinks Wisconsin is looking terrible. And this is interesting, guys. I really thought at this point with Luke Fickell up at Wisconsin, things would be turning around. And we are just not seeing it. We're not seeing it. Richie Dubs thinks Georgia is going to cover that 9.5. And he's very confident about it. Absolutely. Dave, what's the story with Nico? So Nico, in the concussion protocol, Heupel said the other day that he really believes that it sounded very positive, but he said basically you guys are going to have to wait and see. So he's not going to tell us, but he said that he's been, I don't know if he didn't say practicing. He said he's been active with them all week, but I think he's playing for sure. I'm betting like he's playing on Tennessee. Andrew says BYU has not played hardly anybody. BYU has a couple of ranked wins. Let's pull up the resume here. BYU's resume is actually better than quite a few of those playoff teams. Who'd they beat? They beat SMU, by the way. SMU with just one loss, which is more than a lot of people can say. And who else did they beat? Oh, Kansas State. They beat Kansas State and SMU. Kansas State, they beat 38-9. So those are two really good wins. And now they've also beat a tough Utah team. I think the resume pretty good. Pretty good. It's better than a lot of folks, man, to be honest. It's better than Tennessee's resume. Yep, and Utah. All right, my friends. I appreciate you all so much. I appreciate you for joining me today. Thank you to KD for joining me on Friday. Always my favorite show of the week. And tomorrow, don't forget the Buckeyes got the game at Wrigley. We'll be back on here to do the post-game show, as well as later on today, I will come out with my 10 questions video that we do every week before the game, and then we answer those questions in the post-game show. So join me right after the game. I will see you guys then. Have a good one. Jug and Bucks out.